Hello guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, I hope you enjoy this video. If you're returning, I haven't scared you off quite yet. But today's video is about a San Martin, the 60 bar dive watch. And it's not really going to go down that deep, guys. I wouldn't really expect that, but this video is more just going into detail about what I think is the main selling point of this watch, and that is that mother of pearl dial. The pictures do not do it justice. That's why I used in the thumbnail for this video a macro shot of that dial. So this isn't just going to be an entire video of just looking at macros of that dial, but maybe quite a lot of it will be. So this watch effectively is paying strong homage to a Rolex which goes down many thousands of meters, what it claims to, the Deep Sea Dweller. That's the larger case size watch with a fading blue dial, and it's got a helium escape valve and things like that. But this watch is, today we're reviewing, it's got a lot of differences to that watch. Obviously it's not going to go as deep. I don't think it even go anywhere near close to the depth that it's got printed on its dial, 600 meters. And I've had that verified from San Martin. They said they pressure test their watches, but they can't verify and confirm that you should go saturation diving with this watch. And you can't go down 600 meters anyway, because the world record is half that. So what's the point of this watch? Well, I think it's a bit of fun. The best way to look at these watches, any homage watch or anything that says something silly on the dial, you got to take it with a pinch of salt or salty water, I don't know. But anyway, this watch, it's got a mother of pearl dial and lots of other lovely bits and bobs. So let's get cracking and show you all those details. And the first bit is going to be stats and specs. Enjoy. I have fallen in love with this watch. It's probably because of that pearl dial, but I initially, when I slapped it on my wrist, I thought this is quite big and a little bit heavy. Sized up for me is 189 grams, took 3 links out, it was 202. It's quite weighty, but you know what, as soon as I wore it for about 5 minutes, I didn't even notice it. It just felt perfect, really comfortable. So that's why you shouldn't always worry too much about the weights. It's a guide, because sometimes if you're used to wearing a really light watch, 100 grams, yes, initially you're going to notice a watch that weighs this much, but then you get used to it, and then you don't worry, it's not a problem. Size as well, I thought, oh, 43, it's going to be too big for me. I mean, I'm getting a bit into the smaller diameter watches, you know, but for a dive watch, it's appropriate. I think it's perfect, to be honest with you, to have a bigger watch. And in fact, it's sort of playing as a pretender to be a deep sea diver. It makes sense to be a bit bigger, have a bit more statement to it. So I think it works on that respect. So size-wise, what's it going to be? 52.9 lug to lug. That's actually not that long. I've measured to this point here, you know, on the male end links. They've done a great job on that tapering down. It doesn't add length to the watch, which is really good for how it sits on the wrist. So that's very clever. Then 43 more case size. I thought, oh, that's too big, but it's not, because it works really well with the relatively short for its case size, lug to lug. The thickness is only 14.2, which is pretty standard for even a 40mm dive watch. So it works well because it's not ungainly in any particular way. Everything seems to be well proportioned down to the 22mm lug width. Again, that works, and it tapers down. I mean, it would have looked a bit ungainly if it was 22 all the way, but it drops down to 18 and back up to 21 at this lovely clasp. This clasp is something else. On a smaller watch, this clasp probably would look a bit too big, but on this slightly bigger watch, I think it's in perfect proportion. You can see there, you've got a chunky watch with a chunky clasp. Probably helps, that's why it feels so comfortable. Balances the weight and the feel of everything when it's on your wrist. But this clasp is something else, beautiful feel to it. At this price point, but £200, including the 20% and you have to pay, I mean, look at this as about a £200 watch to the UK. Honestly, the materials and the quality of this clasp and everything is breathtaking. We know that with San Martin, but I haven't had one for a while, and it's nice to revisit and get a sort of reminder and see what you can get for your money. And it still blows my mind. I mean, I've seen a few now and I'm still impressed. So this is a bigger watch. I mean, they do a 40mm case size watch, but this is a 43, but it works as long as everything visually is in proportion. So let's go back to what you get. We cover the dimensions. The specification wise is everything is solid stainless steel, mostly brushed, a little bit of polishing on the sides, as you can see from my multitude of fingerprints on there. You do get a little helium escape valve, which I'll cover a bit later on why that's utterly pointless. We've got a lovely 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. Slightly stiff feel to it, but it's loosening up a little bit as I've used it over the week. It lines up beautifully. It's got this weird thing at the 12 o'clock where it's the only part of the whole rotation where you actually have a bit of back play or a bit of movement, as you can see there. That enables you to get it to line up bang on. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I think it is, because there's no play or rock or anything anywhere else. I mean, there's no wobble or bounce on this bezel. Very nice. And I don't think there's an issue with that, to be honest with you, because it does line up. The only other issue I noticed with this huge crown, 7.8 millimeters, lovely shark on there. As you unscrew it, initially it was a bit gritty at that last bit where it's the final point where it screws in or unscrews. So I put a drop of mineral oil on there from my watch oiling kit thing I've got. It's a little syringe, a couple of drops on there, screwed it in and out a couple of times, and that solved it. And it bites perfectly. It screws in, really nice, neat and easy to screw in. AR coated sapphire, BGW9 lume. The AR coating on here is Swiss grade, it's clear. Beautiful alignment and sapphire crystal cyclops there, 2.5 times magnification. And the movement inside, which I'll cover a bit more detail after I've discussed this bit, is the NH35. I'll put it on the time grapher. But yeah, stats and specs, monster. For 200 quid, it is amazing. So for your £200, pretty much going to get an NH35 or a Miyota style movement. How good is the movement in this watch?
So the venerable NH35 from Seiko, made in Malaysia, a good, reliable, solid workhorse movement, generally say 21,600 beats per hour. That's a 3 Hz movement, 42-hour power reserve. It's going to be pretty solid and reliable. And the one I've got in this watch is averaging +2 a day overall with 4 different test positions. And I am extremely happy with that as an overall average. Very nice! So this is a 20-minute time lapse sped up 60 times to give you your obligatory 20 seconds of showing you how good the lume degradation is. Now 20 minutes is just a guide because I wore this watch overnight, and even in the morning 8 hours later I could read it clear as day. So the lume on this BGW9 is absolutely fantastic.
So you pretty much got everything you need to know about this watch. It's a good movement in here. It's running really well. No issues. It's got healthy amplitude, very, very minimal beat error, which is good for these NH35s. I've noticed quite often they're not great. Good one in here. The fit and finish is breathtaking. The size and the weight is really good. It looks gorgeous under the light. I mean, look at that pearl dial. You could just enjoy it for that. I wish they did this on the smaller watch, because I just think, personally, I would maybe prefer the slightly smaller watch. But then, this is growing on me a lot more, to be honest with you. Because, I mean, that crown, I'd love a big crown on a watch, but nearly 8 mil, that is fantastic. I really like it. And it wears really well. I've worn this at work for, all week, and it's so comfortable. I don't notice it. It's not top heavy for me. It's really comfortable. It never feels tight. I've even worn it in bed just to see how good the lume is when I wake up in the morning. And I can tell you now, the lume on this is, as you saw from the time lapse, it barely drops. If I go to bed and then wake up 8 hours later, it's still dark outside, I can still read it clear as day. The lume holds out extremely well. So yeah, it really is a spec monster. And if you don't mind having a bigger watch, you will love it. People sometimes are not sure about this San Martin logo. I love it. I think it's fun, it's interesting, it's different, and it probably works a bit better on a bigger watch, because it looks a little bit too overbearing maybe on a smaller dialed watch, but it works so well on this one. Everything's the right size, the hands are the right length, it all lines up. The fit and finish of these hands is beautiful. Try and get some focus. They're so well polished, there's no imperfections anywhere. To be honest, I find very, very few imperfections anywhere on this watch, to be honest. I mean, there's no play in the bracelet. It just feels incredibly well machined. So I'm gushing because it is incredible for what you get for £200, and it's not too much of a copy of the Rolex Sea Dweller, a deep sea diving watch, you know, the James Cameron they call it. I almost called it the David Cameron once because I was thinking there's no links to ex-prime ministers involved here, but luckily. Blue is the right colour though if you were to go down that road. But yeah, the fact it's got pearl dial, the fact that it's quite difficult to work with pearl, apparently, if you were making it. It's very thin, it's crushed up pearl, and it's machined beautifully, and it's not a 5-minute process, that's for sure. And it makes it look like the ocean. I mean, you look at it, when it plays with the light, it really does feel like you're looking at the sea, and it goes from light to dark. It's so clever. I think that is a real win. You should see this on more watches, to be honest with you. It's so clever. Just stare at it all day, honestly. I mean, and the fact it's got BGW9, which is a blue lume, it contrasts beautifully, perfectly with that blue dial. So that's very clever. And negative-wise, initially I was a bit concerned about that sort of gritty feeling crown, but I solved that. A little bit of oil on there, and it's not been a problem. I wouldn't have minded this bezel not needing to have this weird sort of slight tweakability at the 12 o'clock. The bezel action is a bit muffled and a bit muted. I wish that was a little bit more snappy, but these are things I seem to be able to live with because everything else is so right with it. But the other issue I've got with it is saying automatic 600 meters, 60 bar. I asked Sam Martin, I said, can you help me out? Can this go down 600 meters or the equivalent 60 bar pressure? And they basically just said, we test all our watches. It is water resistant, but not for deep sea diving. And to be honest with you, without doing your nut in talking too much about scuba diving, which I've only learned recently bits and bobs from my mum, this watch will do for 99.9% of people who are going to go in the sea. If you're going to go down deep, you're not going to go down for long because it's not great for your body, and you're not going to be able to do it frequently and things like that. If you're going to do saturation diving, it's very unlikely you're going to wear a £200 watch made in China. No disrespect to San Martin, you're just not. This helium escape valve is more just for aesthetics. Even though it could be functional, it is purely aesthetic. It's not actually going to be of use. Nor is 600 meters. You're never going to go down that deep. Even if you're the best diver in history, you're never going to go that deep. Even if you work in the North Sea and you're doing a repair on an oil rig, you're not going to go that deep. You'll be dead. So it is literally pointless. So it almost makes you think, why didn't they just say 11 million meters on the dial, just to go silly with it? Why 600 meters? If they can't say, yep, definitely 600 meters, we've put it on a submarine, it can definitely take that, and you can wear it with pride saying, I've got this 200 quid watch, which can definitely go down 600 meters, and you've got bragging rights if you're that way inclined. But it can't. So it's a technically totally pointless thing to say. So I'm being polite, but you know, I forgive it that because it's a 200 quid watch, and for the money it's beautifully made, and I enjoy wearing it very much. And I think you would too. And if you do want to buy this watch, it's very kind of you if you use my affiliate links. I do appreciate anyone who's used them before. It really does help, and I massively appreciate it. Just follow that link, stick it in your basket. The links for if you buy it are active for 30 days. So if you haven't quite got the money yet, pop it in your basket. You can buy it whenever you're ready in the next month. So that's obviously if you fancy this. But if you buy anything else as well, much appreciated. But I am smitten with this. This is a keeper for me. And it's the best San Martin I've bought yet. And I've seen a few now. It really, really is. If you don't mind a bigger watch, 43K size, it's a bit more weighty, you will be so happy with this. As am I. I really hope you've enjoyed this review. And I've been fair, been thorough. It's been a pleasure sharing it with you. And if you've enjoyed it, don't forget to, if you haven't already, subscribe to me. Those of you who have already, thank you so much. If you've enjoyed this video, like it, comment, get involved. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, bye for now.